As a reminder, thank you. As a reminder, we are recording these sessions. So if for some reason you don't want your image shared anywhere, feel free to turn your camera off, or maybe you're just having a bad hair day and you don't want people to see you. Either way, the choice is yours. We do intend to record this for people that won't have the opportunity to attend tonight. Just as a reminder of the format, each of these 1-hour sessions includes 30 minutes of a prepared presentation on a given topic, which is designed to help clubs build and retain their membership and make for good quality meetings that tends to keep people sticking around a little bit. And then we're going to have a half an hour open discussion. It's unscripted, but would like you to keep your questions or comments on the topic at hand. And for example, today's is on open houses. So while all topics are good for discussion tonight, we're gonna keep the conversation centered around an open house. And then we have one of our more experienced Toastmasters serving as the presenter. And tonight, we're honored to have Carol Mather. Let me tell you a little bit about Carol. She joined Toastmasters back in September of 2016, a club called the Gold Mine Toastmasters, and then shortly thereafter joined the Davidson Toastmasters. And shortly thereafter, she was a charter member of Eat Your Words. All of those clubs are in District 37, which is in North Carolina. A little bit closer to home, Carol joined Fox Speak in July of 2017, and then Midday Women's Alliance Toastmaster, and then later transferred to become a charter member of Water City Speakers, all the time remaining as a member of Davidson Toastmasters and was their first virtual member. So Carol's seen quite a few clubs around the Toastmaster world. She's been a club vice president education, vice president membership, secretary, president, and sergeant at arms. So we only got a couple more officer roles for her to fill out there, and she'll have the clean sweep. She's also been an area director. Carol received her DTM designation in October 2019. She's a Pathways mentor and a club coach. She has completed the motivational strategies path, and she's close to finishing the presentation mastery, the printed version of that, and engaging humor. She has earned 5 Triple Crown awards. So she's a busy Toastmaster. Our topic tonight is on the importance of hosting an open house in order to build club membership. We're going to focus on the planning and implementation of the open house. 3 main areas: planning, including the planning of the follow-up, implementing the plan, and then debriefing the team and the follow-up afterwards of the guests. We're looking for some great discussion with those of you in attendance about what's worked well for you, as well as maybe answer some questions you may have. So with that, please welcome Carol Mather.
Thank you very much, Keith. I spent some time getting this ready in advance, not waiting to the last minute. And then what do you know? But District 37 had a presentation on open houses, and I already had mine done, but it will come up a little something from them, and I will disclose where that is. So I'm still learning, still growing. And another thing I recently read was in the leader letter, my probably my weak area is in publicity, and there are some really wonderful resources. So I would encourage you to use the resources that we have. And with that, I will begin organizing an open house. I have my email there, um, just as a little reminder if you want to contact me, because you may want me to send you something. Uh, just note I am a mediator, so AC Mediations is my email, even though it doesn't have my name in it. Okay. And I am not moving. Okay. Does anybody technically want to give me a hint?
Carol, this is Susan. I had that
Yep.
issue last time when I presented. If you shrink the left-hand side so that you have more of your screen showing, you'll still have to use either your enter key if your mouse doesn't work. So I practiced it, and then when I got here, it totally did not work. So I got enough coaching last time that I will remember it, and I hope that helps you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I just better not press too fast. Thank you for that, because I did practice. Yes, I did. Okay. So in planning, first you create the plan, and you don't do that by yourself. You do that with your officers or with your committee or whoever is helping you to plan this. It's not a one person thing. It takes a village. It takes several people. Then you're implementing the plan, and then after your open house, you're debriefing the team and you're following up on guests. So part of the planning is planning the debriefing and the follow-up, which is really, really important. Questions to ask in planning: what, why, who, where, when, how, and follow up. Next slide. No, I'm not going to do that. The reason I put all these questions is if you're writing an article, what are the things people want to know? What's going to get their attention? You need to get all the details in any of your publicity, but you also need to have those details out for your team right up front. You need to know when this is going to happen, and they need to understand what an open house is. Now, some of us here, that's may sound silly, but if you have a lot of new members, maybe they don't know what an open house is. Who, who might speak? Who's doing what? Where is it going to be? When is it going to be? And how are you going to publicize it, or how are you going to do table topics or whatever? And again, I'm repeating the follow-up, planning the follow-up. What is an open house? First of all, everyone invites guests. You might even have a competition within your club about who invites guests. It is a publicized meeting. This can be your VP of PR and their committee, but you want to publicize it. It should include a presentation about Toastmasters International, not just your club. It's nice to know about the big organization. And then questions and answers for the people who may have questions and answers before they might want to join. Why? Why do we have an open house? to gain members, to practice leadership skills, to improve your club, because new members will always improve your club. If you're not having fun, you are not doing it right. Jay Nodine from Goldmine Toastmasters, I never got to meet him because he passed away, but he was very famous in Goldmine, and he was a humorist. He took this quote from Groucho Marx and kind of reworked it. So it wasn't totally an original idea, but why have an open house? Well, hopefully you're going to have fun. You need to plan fun, because if it's not fun, you're not doing it right. And that includes your regular meeting, and it includes an open house. Remember the club mission. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. I've been club coach for TOSA Medical, and they read this every meeting, and I love it. I had not seen that done before, but this is great. It's often on our agendas, but we need to be reminded of it. And I also think sometimes we need to be reminded of the Toastmasters promise. But this is a great thing to remember. And it's one of the reasons we have an open house. Who? All club members should be involved. Testimonials. Every member, or everyone, if you have a set number of people, should be able to give a table topic length testimonial of what the club has meant to them or what Toastmasters has meant to them. Are you having a special speaker? Who would that be? And who is going to publicize the meeting? Who is going to do what? The VP PR and publicity committee should be publicizing the meeting. Where? And coming up in our discussion, we're going to have, I have two questions, and one of them is where. But I have here regular meeting place. Box Speak meets at a festival community room, which is a fabulous meeting place. Eat Your Words meets at a restaurant, and that's where Toastmasters started, in restaurants, meeting in restaurants. You could have online hybrid. You can meet at a public library. And I'm sure there are other places that people have met to hold their open house. When should you do this? Consider membership campaigns. 5 new, dual, or reinstated members, the Smedley Award, Talk Up Toastmasters, Beat the Clock. There's also a membership building program for individuals, which runs the whole year. Now, of course, for us right now, the Smedley Award is over. We're in Talk Up Toastmasters, and Beat the Clock is coming up. You also could do this during contest season instead of having a regular meeting. You could do it during your club contest. I know our club contests are past now, but I'm just saying, pretty much you could do it any time that works for your club. How? Usually there's a special speaker. Usually there's testimonials of some type. You might want to show some table topics, and you need to be creative for table topics, and themes of your meeting, because sometimes the theme of the meeting will attract people. And just a little silly example is persuasive speech. You could plan this ahead, of course. This is something different that you would have to prepare your members for, but something like have a bunch of items and somebody would come in with something like this and they would talk about it. This is a neck massager. It is great. And they would go on and they would do a table topic on it. And the voting would be what was the best item? What was the most persuasive table topic? All kinds of creative things you could do. Planning the follow-up. It's real important that you have a guest book and a guest packet at the open house. And my sergeant at arms actually, in Davidson, has developed a virtual guest book, which I thought was really, really great. So even if you're doing it virtually, you can still have a guest book. Know who will follow up the guests before you even have the open house. Who's going to follow them up? And give opportunity for guests to comment as well as ask questions at the meeting, and make sure that those questions are answered and that you follow up the guests. Okay, implementing the plan. Ideally, you should pick a date at least 5 weeks ahead. And this is what I learned from the District 37. What happened was I was trying to get into the meeting and I actually ended up taking my son to the hospital. So I was late for the meeting, but I contacted a friend and she sent me a few slides and I missed part of the presentation. But the person who said you should pick a date at least 5 weeks ahead was my friend Gail Pum, and she is really good with all the social media, and that's what I could send you a little social media chart that I tried to look it up. I couldn't find it anywhere, so I have a little chart about when's the best time to post on some of the social media. So your whole committee should be on board 5 weeks ahead. So it's pretty much too late, in my opinion, to have an open house in March. So we're looking to either the end of the year or just before the end of the year. Your vice president, public relations, and committee should handle advertisement on the social media and flyers, etc. But, that's anybody can help with that. Okay, implementing the plan, have the speaker scheduled, have your agenda planned, secure the meeting location if you need, and very important, set the debriefing date. You don't want to lose the follow-up. I think you can tell I'm harping on that a lot. Debrief team and following up guests. What could have done? What could have gone better? And what went well? Sometimes we can be very hard on ourselves. So be certain to thank everyone for their help. And if someone is being hard on themselves, try to point out the positive things that happened. Hopefully everybody had fun. Check to see if the guests were followed up. And also think about when would be a good time to hold the next open house. My suggestion is that you plan your open house or open houses at the beginning of the Toastmaster year with club officers along with your club success plan. Is That's one of the things I think would really help, because then you'll think about in advance what your year looks like, and you'll think about, oh, that's coming up at whatever date you're deciding, and you can start publicizing it 5 weeks before. Yes, it was a social media boot camp PDF from Gail Plum, DTM. And in it, she said the best times to post for Facebook, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. And that's what I'm asking. I couldn't figure out how to, I'm not the greatest technology, but I couldn't figure out how to make a slide of it. But I would be happy to send that to you. That's not my original thing, but I thought it was pretty exciting in their presentation. So I don't have a time on my computer right now that I can see, but my first, I have 2 questions for the group. What has worked in the past, and where have you held an open house? And I would kind of like to hear where you have held an open house in the chat. Is that possible, Keith?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So if we could put that, oh, except I can't have access to the chat. Maybe I can. I'm just not used to.
I'll moderate. So
Okay, that would be great.
if
That would
people
be
put
great.
things in the chat, I'll call them out to you.
Okay.
All right, Chris suggests whatever your regular meeting venue is. If you're doing things in person, that's the best place for an open house, or a place for an open house. And if you're going to go online through Zoom, you would have a special meeting link separate from your regular meeting link. Susan suggests also whatever your regular meeting site is, and or maybe a community room or library or restaurant. I'll add, depending on the type, or depending on your expected attendance, that might bump you out of a regular meeting location. Right? If you're expecting a really big splash and get 50 people there, but your meetings rooms can only hold 25, pick another place, right? Let's see. Susan says online, make it in place of a regularly scheduled meeting. So I think this is Menominee Falls, right? We used to meet at Uno's. That worked well, but now we'd like to have the Menominee Falls Firehouse, which is where we meet. Tony suggests guest meeting room in an apartment complex, city park, activity shelter. I'm assuming that's not in winter, Tony, unless it's a indoor shelter. Let's see. Terry suggests for a corporate club, they'd host open houses in a larger conference room right next to the cafeteria. I like that one. We've done that at one of my clubs as well. Everybody's walking past. Hey, what's going on there? Maybe you could put some signage out in front. And Steve said the best open houses they've had have been at regular meeting place. Seems to be a recurring theme here. And Chris had a joint open house. I'm assuming that means with another club. Oh, several other area clubs. Good. I didn't know if that was special kind of club that I'm not aware of. At a conference room at a bowling alley, someplace that was central to all the clubs. And shared the information about all the clubs in that meeting. She also adds focused on table topics and answering questions. Great way to get a lot of people involved. Let's see. Susan had one at a picnic shelter in a local park. And Mark suggests corporate open house on growing impromptu speaking skills. I know that's something I like to use the term elevator speech, and I've actually got a little story about an elevator speech that actually took place in an elevator. It was great with the CEO of the company, and done in conjunction with a corporate non-Toastmaster group, and they got some good participation on that one. So some great suggestions, some great comments there.
Okay.
I've got a question or a discussion. Steamboat ride down the Mississippi River. I don't know what your budget's like, Tony. That's an interesting one though. Yeah. Yes. Sign me up the next time you guys are planning one of those. That's great. Okay. So the question that I want to throw out there, or a discussion topic, is what about themes? All right. So any special themes? We've heard the table topics, but other than that, has anyone tried a themed open house that really drew people in? Feel free to take yourself off of mute too and just chime in. I mean, I'll share a relatively recent experience in one of my clubs. It was it's an attempt to kind of reinvent the club, which had been struggling due to COVID and lack of a central meeting location, and then some of the core members have moved away from the it's in Milwaukee. It moved away from the Milwaukee area, so it was presenting a lot of hardships. So we had a theme around using how Toastmasters can improve your career, and we invited everyone. It's there's a lot of members in the U.S. Forest Service, and so we invited everyone in the region, which I believe is central U.S., invited everyone in the region, and trying to kind of reinvent the club as a corporate training opportunity. It's a way to jumpstart your career, and we had two speakers that spoke especially on that topic, on how Toastmasters has helped their career. So
Example of a testimonial is my friend at Davidson. She was out of work for a year. She did the project of preparing for an interview, and her next interview she was hired. So she gives that as her testimonial all the time. She really is convinced that that project helped her get hired.
wow, fantastic success story.
I can share one. When I was with the Direct Supply Champion Chatters, I think the most fun open house we ever had was based on the Kentucky Derby. And so we made hats. I mean, they were huge, flowery, overgrown Southern style hats. We served some cool food, and we also had virgin mint juleps. We had a packed house. I still have pictures someplace of that. And it's just fun to look at that because everybody had a good time.
That's fun, Susan.
Very, very interesting. Chris posted some comments about kind of a unique approach to open house. Chris, you want to tell us a little bit about what you did at Cream City?
Well, we're starting it on Wednesday this
Yeah.
week. So this is something brand new for us. On our 2 regular meeting nights in March, we're actually going to hold, each night we'll have 2 separate open houses. Each open house will be 30 minutes. 1 speaker, 1 evaluator, 1 table topics master, and we'll have 2 to 3 respondents. We're going to put the explanations of the meeting roles into the chat. Prior to the actual open house, we'll have 15 minutes for networking and socializing. After the open house is done, then we will have breakout rooms with club officers in different rooms that guests can go in and talk with them, ask whatever questions they may have for 10 minutes. Then we're going to end it, and then we'll have a 5-minute break and we'll open the room up for the next open house. So we're going to feature different speakers and different members in each role during every open house. And we actually have, I think I've gotten at least 3 or 4 people who have registered already on Zoom for it. And they are names that I have not recognized as current Toastmasters. And we really want our focus on this to be to non-Toastmasters. We welcome current Toastmasters, but our draw is for non-Toastmasters.
Oh, interesting.
Looking
So,
forward to it. A little bit
yeah.
different concept.
sounds kind of like speed dating,
Maybe.
speed Toastmastering. So Liz is asking the question, how'd you find people? That is a great question, not just for Cream City, but really for any
Sure.
of
So
these. How'd you go about?
we posted it on our website. We posted it on our Facebook. I posted on my personal Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're asking all of our members to share it on their personal social media pages. We did a special 1-page flyer that has all the different dates. So you can, when you go to register, you know which session, A, B, C, or D to attend. We have a QR code. If you scan it, it takes you straight to the Zoom link to register. We shared it on, where else? I sent it to a bunch of people within my personal friends list in Facebook. And other people, again, they're just sharing it with their friends and families and colleagues.
Okay, great. Cindy Latch has a kind of a unique draw. So if I could ask her to elaborate on that a little bit, and then and then also just how did you attract people to this unique speaker? I'll call it speaker.
Yeah, she speaks in her own way. So
Yeah.
yes, thank you, Keith. So if you attended a past District 35 convention, we had this really awesome dog named Sadie. And Sadie has this great story of being rescued and coming up from Kentucky and living with her mom, Joelle, who lives in Muskego. So she was at a convention. So I reached out to Sadie through her mom, Joelle, and we had her come to our open house. This is when we were in person. And we were at the Oak Creek Library. And so Sadie has a huge following. She has a Facebook page, a Twitter page. She has books. So Joelle put it up on her pages. So we got all sorts of people that had never heard of Toastmasters. We used our social media. We put it up in the library. And I think we had 60 people in the audience. And you know, we got Subway sandwiches, and what we did is Joelle and Sadie did the first half and talked about not only their story, but how being able to be an effective speaker that's how they got their story across to the world. Then we turned it into a mini Toastmaster meeting, and then we had tables at the end where people would walk up and kind of, Chris, do your speed dating, where they could get their real quick questions answered. And we got members out of it. We got people that continued to come, even though they never joined, they still wanted to come. And it was just kind of real fun to bring in a celebrity.
Yeah, so you sounds like you relied on the celebrity status of your, we'll call her the speaker, right? Yep. And that drew people in who maybe had never even heard of Toastmasters, but they came because they wanted to see Sadie.
Yep, they wanted to see Sadie, and plus they brought family, and then they brought neighbors. It was really interesting because it was kind of a heartstrings sort of thing. But in the process, people were like, we've never heard of this. How do we get involved with this? My son needs to get involved with this. He just turned 18. So Chris, to your point too, we talk about Toastmasters to Toastmasters. So I really like the concept of getting into that population that isn't Toastmasters. So we just went with a an interesting person.
Yeah, was that Oak Creek?
Yes.
Yeah, now that you're describing it, I do remember that. That was pretty cool. All right. Any other questions or
I have a-
success stories? Or wait, I'll get to you, Dick. I just thought of something else. I wanted to ask Cindy, what were the results of your open house? I mean, yeah, a lot of exposure. Were you able to get any members out of it?
Yes, we got a couple that were just graduated from high school that were joining college. They came in for about a year and a half, and then they both went on to a different school, but they really felt it prepared them for school. We also had a husband and wife who the wife originally joined and then the husband joined. Again, they stayed in for about a year and a half and they retired and moved somewhere else. But we brought in people that weren't on Toastmasters because we just tapped into that new market. And we had people that just kept coming because they liked the experience. And then, they would come for about 3 to 5 meetings and then they would phase off. But I think we got 5 people out of that original open house.
Very nice. Dick, you had a comment that you wanted to share?
Yes, I just want something Chris brought up about an efficient meeting. I think that's important. One of the things I focus on in speechcraft, and I would think for an open house too, is put on the basics, the official Toastmaster roles. And all these terms to guests will be terms they've never heard of. So you don't want to add more like a quiz master or joke master, or not even word of the day. Just the basic Toastmaster, general evaluator, speaker, evaluators, counter timer, just the basic rules. And, later on your club can add those, but for guests, don't add more roles that they don't understand what the purpose of the role is, would be my recommendation.
Yeah, there'll be time for that later, right?
Yeah.
Once you got the hook in.
Yeah.
Can I throw something on here?
Yeah, please.
I've been at a couple of open houses that have gone, let's just say, tragically and comically wrong. Speakers don't show up, and you have one guest and like 6 members, and the whole thing just falls apart for reasons. Yeah, reasons. Anyway, but if you all kind of get together in the hallway for a quick second and regroup, you can salvage these meetings. And the thing I always keep telling people is that nobody knows what to expect unless you've told them they should expect it. So we've had open houses where our speaker didn't show up, our person who was going to speak. And well, what do? Well, okay, I'll do a hip pocket speech and somebody will evaluate it. And there will be good stuff to catch in the evaluation because I haven't practiced it a lot. And let's go around the room afterwards and talk about our success stories with Toastmasters, what Toastmasters has done for us. There are things you can do to make it, look better than it actually is, I guess is what I'm saying. I've had times where I haven't handed out agendas because the agenda is going in the trash. But, you get a Toastmaster, you run the meeting, and you show it. And people, in my experience, people aren't buying Toastmasters because they're buying, the meeting format specifically. They're buying the fact usually that there's a nice, fun group of people who get together. It looks like they're doing something that's useful. It looks like they're practicing skills. They're getting good feedback, and this can help them. So, again, don't get too discouraged if your open houses go tragically and horribly wrong. You can usually pull it out, and sometimes you even get members out of it still. So yeah. 1 or 2 members is 1 or 2 members, and 1 member is worth an open house, especially in the current environment. So
yeah, and that's not to say you don't plan so that you have a mild catastrophe that you have to recover from. But if it happens, then don't panic, right? Okay, looks like Yuri's got his hand raised.
Yes, my question is this. If a club has core group of people that regularly show up, whether it's a corporate club or a community club. And I've done, my club, one of my clubs has done an open house about a year ago when we were just kind of not in the middle of being online only for the time being. It is can be, it's difficult sometimes to plan. We have maybe you can count on 6 or 7 people showing up, and what kind of tips do you have with corporate or community club to uh, plan with the limited amount of people, just 6 or 7 that truly can be counted on to come when you don't have enough people to even form a committee?
Well, I can share my most recent experience, the open house that we just had. We had 20, I think we had 20 guests thereabouts. And not that we were looking to pile all this work on us, but we had 3 club members that did it all, because that's all we had in the club. Not paid, not only 3 paid members, but 3 active members. That was it. And it was, I don't want to say a last gasp, but we decided this club is not going under without making some sort of effort. And right now we've got 6 new members as a result of that open house. So that doesn't necessarily mean long-term success, but we've at least we've at least got over the hump, and it's going to be exciting because we're going to have 3 experienced members, maybe 4, maybe 5. We'll see who renews coming up here, but we're going to have a small number of existing members and a lot of new members. So it's almost like chartering a new club, and so it's going to be kind of exciting. But you can do it with 3. Obviously, it's a lot more work when you've only got a small number of people doing it. Jason, looks like you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just another thought along that line, because I just have done 2 open houses recently for the 2 clubs that I'm involved in. One's a small community club and one's a large corporate club. And kind of along those lines is my advice is don't let the small numbers or the new people scare you from doing an open house. Plan, do what you can with what you have, think broadly, think, plan as best as you can. Don't, think about advertising digitally, but also think about advertising in person or physically. And even if you have a lot of members, spread the experience around, because there is value, similar to a demo meeting, of having an inexperienced person speak as well. Because if you have 2 experienced people, potentially your new members could be scared off by feeling that there isn't opportunity for growth, or the evaluator comes and says, well, I don't really have much to comment, Keith, because you're just a rock star. That doesn't necessarily give them the Toastmasters experience. And then think about all of the different ways you can potentially seek out new members, as we talk about where do they come from. Post physically, digitally. In my corporate club, we just had our open house on Wednesday this past week, and one of the things we've been able to do in our partnership with HR is offer wellness points for attendees at our open house. And we had 100 guests on Wednesday at our open house. We've already got 3 applications for that, and to really think differently. Don't be afraid to ask, especially if you're in a corporate club. I'm in HR, but I don't own that. So, but we went to the person that owns that, and he said, well, of course, how many points do you want to give? It wasn't even a thing. So, and it caused us to have some really great recognition. And it was that specific thing pushed an email out to everyone in the company automatically when they made it go live, that advertised it on our behalf. So just think of different things and try to get as many people involved as you possibly can. And then too, the many hands make light work as you plan and as you work through. That also helps you plan for if something goes wrong, somebody's not there, all of those things. So just a couple thoughts.
Very nice. 100. You had 100. Well, I hope you got some new members out of that. Todd, I see you've got your hand up.
Thank you. I had a quick question was, does this district have as part of the incentive things, whichever club puts on the best open house, and how do they report it? How do they score it? How do they track it? And out of that, does any kind of like project planning tool get created? So in Carol's presentation, where you got to plan it, you got to implement it, you got to do the CSI on the end of it to see what the results were. Are we all going to be creating our own kind of tool, or is there a tool somewhere where we can just download it, take it, and plug in our own name and make it kind of thing? The reason I asked that question is back in 2014, my home club, we had a project manager lady. She actually created that tool, and our club won our district's incentive that year. And I could probably drop it in your chat. That's
Nice.
number one. Number two is, if you really like the idea of creating and getting more members, tomorrow night in District 61, we are having how to double or triple your membership in 6 months webinar going on between 7 and 8 Montreal time. So that's like 6 to 7 your time. And on Wednesday, we are having another webinar or a panel discussion on retention, growth, and revitalizing of clubs. Because we do actually have a position in our district called, open house in a box and new club army kind of thing. So they are creating some webinars as well for that kind of stuff.
I've seen several myself. With a little bit of searching, I could probably put my finger on some of those templates. And as far as the incentive goes, I'll let any of the trio members jump in on here. I'm pretty sure we have an incentive to have an open house, but I don't think we have an incentive for having the best open house.
Correct.
Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we have an incentive. We just want you to have an open house, but it's not like Carol said, it's not just a normal meeting, right? It's an event that you plan. And so we do want to see that you've planned the open house. So there's some things that you have to do to show us that you've planned. But there is an incentive for hosting an open house. Mm-hmm. I'm not aware of a toolkit or template that's available through the district, at least on the website, but for planning one, like a project plan, but
I'm pretty sure we do have
We
open
have
house I'm pretty sure we do have open house in a box. I'd have to go sifting through the archives in our document management system.
yeah.
Alt-C did that a ways back. Advanced Leadership Toastmasters, Julia
Ah,
Boston,
okay.
those guys.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yep.
Nice.
They did contest in a box too.
Right.
Yeah, contest in a box has been updated recently.
I'll unless somebody is so inclined to do it, I will take that as an action to look for the open house in a box plan.
Oh, look, someone found it. Is that what you found, Jason?
No, that's the incentive, Terry.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
incentive. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't want to take up our time searching right now, but
Yeah.
I'll go look for it.
What about themes for open houses? It's like there's a Toastmaster club in Santa Monica, California called Club 21. They have a theme for everything, but they had one open house that was called Rocking Around the Clock Toastmasters.
Sounds fun. There's been a couple comments here around the subject of food, and that's probably more relevant to if and when clubs start meeting back in person again. I know clubs that I've been in, that's always a draw. I guess the downside of that is, hopefully people aren't coming just for the food and then leaving. But
what type of food?
Oh, ice cream, sub sandwiches,
Cake.
uh,
People love cake.
cake, potluck, you know,
Toast.
toast. Yeah. So tell us about toast. I could see some potential danger there, but tell us about the toast open house at Rumble, Cindy.
Sure, this is back when we were in person, but I think as we transition back to the other world, we could get there. So we advertised internally and it was a mid-morning meeting. And we had about 10 to 12 toasters that our kitchen company had provided. And we brought in sourdough, white, whole wheat, just tons of breads. And then we had a whole table with jams and peanut butters and honey and spreads. So people just made toast and you know, dressed it up and snacked. And the odor was so good that we were by conference rooms that people were like peeking in, like, can we come in here? And so we did have some people just there for the toast. But we had not 100, Jason, but we probably had like 60 people in that meeting and got like, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 to join right on site, just from toast.
Yeah. Was there was there any confusion that people showed up? They thought it was just going to be a toast thing, and all of a sudden people are doing public speaking.
We had two women that were walking into a conference room and they came in and they actually made the toast and then went back into their meeting. And we're like, that's fine. You know?
Yeah. All right. Any other questions or suggestions? Anybody have a horror story? Sometimes, you know, sometimes we can learn from our mistakes, right? Like, oh, it was a complete failure, but you know, here's what we learned from it. Any experiences like that?
Everyone went to the wrong place.
Okay, and so obviously that wasn't a successful open house, but what did you all learn from that, Tony?
The important thing is to accurately convey where you're meeting, the instructions to the meeting, make certain that they don't go to the same address in another city that's adjacent to the city
Okay,
where you're having the meeting.
okay. Nice. I see Tom Carlson out there. Tom, I'm expecting you've hosted or have attended some open houses in the past. Any experiences, positive or negative, you'd like to share?
I'm not a fan of open houses for the sake of adding bodies to the membership of a club. I would like to see a club decide what is the objective of an open house, and then find where that market is, and then focus on marketing and promoting your open house to that market. I would believe that an excellent market prospect would be our Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is in many places, they make money by sponsoring a Dale Carnegie course. Why don't Toastmasters work with Chambers of Commerce and putting on a demo meeting, which would be an open house, which would hopefully resolve into a speechcraft to get new members. I was a member of a club many years ago that I dropped out of because I was tired about hearing people about their hunting or their crocheting. I wanted to hear about real life stories. Toastmasters is an organization for self-improvement. Just to get somebody into the club because they have time on their hands does not make for a strong club. Strong club needs qualified members.
That's nice. That's true.
Rob, you've got your hand up there.
I thought Todd was before me.
Oh,
Todd? Did Todd disappear?
no, he's still there.
I just wanted to say that the things are in the chat for anybody who wants to look at it.
Ah, yeah. We saw the hand. I saw the hand up, and I thought that was still up from the last the last time. My bad.
I just wanted a quick follow on with chambers of commerce. Some chambers of commerce, especially in small towns, are ridiculously and obscenely cheap for nonprofit organizations to join. The Walworth County Chamber of Commerce for a nonprofit organization costs like $100 a year to be a member or something. And they have their chamber social events and stuff like that. So if you're looking for places to get people that you might want to invite to an open house, if you join your chamber of commerce, oddly enough, they do social things. Send a few people from your club, pass out cards, talk to people. You might not even need an open house. They might just come to meetings. Who knows? But yeah, the sorts of people that are in chambers of commerce, I agree 100% with Tom. They're the sorts of people that would be really good assets to your club, in particular because if they join, they're connected to everybody else in the community because that's why they're a member of the Chamber of Commerce. So, just some thoughts.
Right. Thank you. Okay, we're closing in on the top of the hour, so let's hopefully we've got a couple quick comments. Carol.
Yeah, I just wanted to say for speakers or even as a joint meeting with Rotary, there was a open house with Rotary and Toastmasters, and I had a Rotarian speak at an open house, and then I visit the Rotary Club in North Carolina. And I know some Toastmasters who are members of both. So that's a possibility as well.
Okay, very good. Good suggestion, Yuri.
Yes, I like Robert's thought about the Chamber of Commerce. And my question is, most of these Chamber of Commerce are meant to allow businesses who are much interested in making money. As a Toastmasters club, are we joining to kind of represent almost the entire the TI International, or are we kind of joining, kind of saying we are a club and our club is part of this international organization? And what sort of how broadly are we communicating exactly who we are?
Regarding chambers of commerce, you always join as an individual organization. Every Toastmasters club is an individual organization affiliated with Toastmasters International. So you're joining as your club. And you promote yourself typically, if you're in a community, as a community organization. You don't talk as much about the TI stuff until you've got people at the meetings, but you're a community organization that helps members of the community improve their communication and leadership skills.
Okay, that just to kind of better understand the phrasing or like the sample, because I'm sure there was Chamber of Commerce, they have initial application before you give them the money and all that. They ask you, what are you about? Why are you looking to join? It would be helpful to have some kind of sample question and answers to those kind of questions. Maybe it's a future kind of session, one of these, or sort of an additional complement to a future topic. But I think this is something I think is also just as interesting as open house.
Right. Good. Good suggestion for a future topic, and that is a excellent segue. We are at the end of our time this evening. What is our next topic? I'm looking for confirmation here. I've got Dick Hawley next up at towards the end of March to talk about Speechcraft. Are you still on, Dick?
Looking forward to it, and a good comment you made about the three of you put on the open house. Speechcraft can easily be put on by 3 people. So I want low membership clubs to think of Speechcraft as some way to revitalize their clubs, and it can easily be done with 3 people. You don't need 10 people to put on a Speechcraft, and I'll share that in 2 weeks.
Excellent. Wow, what a nice tease. show up in 2 weeks and hear how you can put on a Speechcraft with 3 people from Dick Hawley. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for spending an hour of your time. Hopefully you you've taken something away, you can take it back to your clubs. And for those that may be listening to this later, come on back, join the upcoming meetings. We're looking forward to having you all here.